Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at Kokomlemle in Accra on digital address GA0993341 on Joy 99.7 FM. It's also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by Telesol 4G. Just a touch. It's been 200 days since the first girl went missing in Takoradi. 2 others have been gone for 91 and 74 days. Together with their families, we at Joy News demand swift action from state security agencies. Hashtag bring back our tardy girls. Coming up in this edition, members of NDC threatened to stage walkout from police CID for court, wasting their time after party members waited well over 3 hours for national chairman to be interrogated over leaked tape.
The letter is an invitation. We are not under any arrest. So they should communicate to them that if they are not ready for us, we are going back. If they are ready, they should call us back.
We'll hear from the party's general secretary and get the latest live update. Drama in court as family of 3 kidnapped girls verbally and physically attack suspects involved in the kidnapping. Will be live in Takoradi for the latest as judge gives suspect 1 month to produce the man who aided him to break jail. Father of 11-year-old boy suffering from a rare medical condition which has caused doctors to cut off his toes and fingers banishes his wife, accusing her of witchcraft.
For the 4 months he's been here, he's not called us. He's told us not to come home until I confess I'm a witch and responsible for my son's condition.
We have details of this bizarre story, even as efforts by the gender minister to intervene fails. In our Ghana Man series today, we explore the fading influence of the extended family in the lives of people today.
Hundreds of people that I hardly know, each one of them giving instructions because somehow I am related to them.
We'll bring you more on this, plus the research pointing to a diminishing power of the family. We have all that and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. Details shortly. Please stay. General Secretary of the Opposition NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, has criticized the hierarchy of the police CID for, quote, wasting their time. His criticism came after several members of the party, including former ministers, accompanied the national chairman Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo to the CID headquarters today over content on the leaked tape. The recording, alleged to be Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo's voice, contains what the police say is a threat to the security of the nation and some individuals. Mr. Asiedu Nketia is unhappy. The police kept them waiting for well over 3 hours and served notice they will soon walk out.
No, they just invited us and then showed us this place to sit at their reception. And we've been waiting for close to 2 hours now.
So are you telling me that you've not seen the CID boss? You've not seen it?
Not at all. We haven't seen the CID boss. There are some officer here who came and directed us to sit here and said that they will be with us soon, and that has
and
taken
soon
us
is the past 2 hours.
2 hours, and we are sitting here. So I am suggesting to the lawyers that since the letter is an invitation, we are not under any arrest. So they should communicate to them that if they are not ready for us, we are going back. If they are ready, they should call us back. So they are working on that one, and I'm sure very soon, if we don't hear from them, we may take a decision to leave.
And very soon, in about how many minutes are you talking about the very soon?
Well, the lawyers are talking to the CID boss. So one day, if they are not able to invite us now, because of course we have a serious business of working to remove this government from power. So we don't have any 1 hour to wait at all. Every 1 hour is important to us. So we can go and be working on our project, and then if they need us, they can invite us again.
I see. But there are those who have said that, I mean, the comment made by your national chairman is quite damning, and that you will have to work with the law to ascertain the veracity of the audio.
We are working with the law. The law doesn't say that when you invite somebody, you are not able to even tell him why you have invited him.
You don't know why you invited him?
No, we don't know why.
We saw a statement and indicated that they wanted him to confirm or deny if it is boys.
So why are we sitting here?
You heard the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia. My colleague, Kwesi Parker Wilson, joins us from the police CID headquarters with the latest. Are the leadership of the NDC still waiting, or they finally gain audience with the CID? Hello, Parker. I'm asking if they are still waiting or they finally gain audience with the CID.
Not at all. Let me start. I speak to you, the party executives, including Samuel Osampofo, and the lawyers are still waiting at the lobby. They are still waiting at the lobby. The CID officials are yet to meet them. And just a while ago, they were actually singing the party national anthem to draw the attention of the CID officials to grant them audience. So as I speak to you at the moment, the NDC executives, including some of his lawyers, are still waiting at the lobby.
Well, in your estimation, how many hours have they been waiting? Because you had that interview a while ago with the General Secretary, and as we speak now, about how many hours have they been waiting?
For the past 3 hours. I was here around 9. Even before I got here, I was told that his lawyers were already at the lobby waiting for the deputy CID boss to come and then have a conversation with the lawyers. But it's 12 now, so clearly one can tell that it's been close to 3 hours, and then the CID officials are yet to meet Samuel Osampofo and his lawyer. And
what explanation have they offered to the leadership, or have you sought to find out why they've had to wait this long?
Well, the police are tight-lipped on the matter, but I managed to have a conversation with lawyer Amanda, who told me that he made contact to the CID officials, and the explanation they gave them was that they've been holding phase of meeting, and that is why they are not able to meet the Samuel Osampofo and his lawyer. So they are still waiting. In fact, I've been told that they are giving the CID just 5 more minutes. Now, after 5 minutes, if they are not able to come, they walk up from the CID headquarters.
Well, we'll wait a bit more again, at least some 5 more minutes during the midday news, and check if the CID is finally questioning Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo together with his lawyers and the NDC executives at the CID headquarters. Now, although Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo has said he is innocent of allegations, former President Mahama has been explaining why Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo made those comments. There's more in this news desk report.
So you see that now we have a tactical advantage. People also start capturing your mothers and fathers.
The voice said to be that of Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo talks about the need to organize party tags ahead of the 2020 election. It also calls on the NDC party communicators to take the chairperson of the Electoral Commission to the cleaners, and also sanctions insulting the chairman of the National Peace Council, Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante.
Especially the Peace Council chair. Exactly. For the first time, I will endorse insulting.
The NDC Deputy Communications Officer, Kweku Boaheng, said the voice was that of Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo and that the party agreed with what he said. The Communications Officer, Sami Jemfi, however, cast doubt over the content of the tape.
We know that what they do is to spy, record meetings involving officials of the NDC, and then doctor these recordings to achieve their own political and spiteful end.
Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo is yet to deny or admit the content of the tape, but at the Thanksgiving service at the Perez Chapel yesterday, the NDC's flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, said his chairman's call against the National Peace Council chairman was not about physical attack.
For a chairman who had witnessed the violence, the guy whose leg was shot, the bone had shattered and the bone fragments were lying on the ground. Anybody who saw it would be traumatized. And so if a few days after he was talking and saying we should attack the Peace Council chairman, it didn't mean we should go and beat the Peace Council chairman. It meant that we should criticize him verbally. But we have written a letter to the president and we say the National Peace Council is the best organization to preside over the talks on disbanding vigilantism.
On Friday, Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo's lawyers said he could not honor the CID's invitation because he was bereaved and needed time. Less than 24 hours after that, however, the NDC chairman was part of the party's walk where he spoke about the subject of the CID invitation.
8 o'clock we are there. I want to assure them that the peaceful chairman, the peaceful party will respond to their call, even though they first invited us through WhatsApp. The NDC will not kill women to win power. The NDC will not kidnap people to win power. The NDC will not insult to win the power.
That was a news desk report. We'll get more in our subsequent bulletins. But let's head to Takoradi now, because there was drama at the Takoradi District Magistrates Court in the Western Region when families of the 3 kidnapped girls in Takoradi attacked the suspected kidnapper, 28-year-old Nigerian suspect Samuel Udotok Wills. Our correspondent Inathalia Kwansa reports family members held Samuel's shed demanding to know where he's taking their daughters. Police intervention resolved the situation. Let's get more from Inathalia Kwansa, who was in court earlier today. Ina, so give us a brief account of how it all went down.
Okay, MFA. So the court started the proceedings around 9 o'clock, and then before the judge could even come to the courtroom, the mother of Ruth Love Quayson started verbally to attack the suspect, asking him that what wrong has Ruth done for him to have kidnapped her. He should tell them where Ruth is. So for that, the police intervened, and then she went out and later came back inside and then went straight to the guy demanding. So the police and other people there took her outside. Then the father of Priscilla, Blessing Bentum, also went behind where the suspect or the accused, Samuel Udotek Wills, was sitting, and then hit him and asked him, "Where are our children?" So they also took him out. So that is what happened. But after court hearing today, they held a shared residents joined in, including the family. So it took the intervention of the police.
But what was his reaction in all this, Samuel Udotok, I mean?
So, for today, Udotek seemed a bit quieter than ever. And he was so quiet throughout the proceedings before he was even called. He had his head down. He never lifted his head. This is unusual compared to the cases. The days we have been there, this happened to be the 5th court case hearing today. So today he was a bit dull than he used to be.
Okay, but let's talk about the substantive case, the jailbreak issue. Was he able to produce the 2 men or those who aided him to break jail?
Yes, so if we would recall, on the 18th of February, when he came to court, he said he still had not gotten his Kwesi, and then he led police from Accra on a wild goose at Cancer Road. This was according to the head of operation at the DNI headquarters in Accra, Lord Nateri. That was what he said. So the court gave him 2 weeks, and the 2 weeks ended today for him to bring this Kwesi. So today, a national security officer who came, Abuaje Abiam, said that he had also led them to arrest one Koda at Ekrase in the eastern region. According to Samuel Udotek Wills, this Koda is to aid the police in getting this Kwesi guy, who he says led him to escape. But the national security officer also said that this Koda has been arrested in connection to the kidnapping.
But you've also been interacting with lawyers for the families of the 3 kidnapped girls. What more have they been telling you?
Yes, so these are lawyers who today openly said they are holding briefs for the family. These are 3 lawyers within the metropolis. Basically, they said they are going to help so that issues go faster than it is going. The lawyer, Beckham, who is the leader of these lawyers, had told the judge that this issue is very sensational. People are worried. People want to know what really is happening. So he would plead with the judge, Michael Ampedu, his worship, so that he would fast-track issues so that we deal with the substantive issue. So basically, this is what they are fronting for.
Well, that's my colleague Inathalia Kwansa. But Ina, overall, do we know when we are going to find these girls? Have you been interacting with police? Have they given any indication at all?
No, they haven't said anything. They said they set a committee to investigate the CID Udotek had mentioned in his 3rd court appearance. So that's what they said they are investigating. The police still hold the fact that they are investigating the whereabouts of these 3 girls. And Samuel Udotek Wills has not said anything for now. If they know and they have not brought it out, I cannot tell. But for the public and for the Western region and the family, they have not said that this is where the location of the girls are, except the Koda, who has been arrested in connection to the kidnapping. So he's been interrogated at the headquarters in Accra.
Nathalia Kwanzaa is our Western Regional correspondent, and like I said, it's been 200 days since the first girl went missing in Takoradi. 2 others have been gone for 91 and 74 days. Together with their families, we at Joy News demand swift action from state security agencies. Is the hashtag Bring Back Our Tardy Girls. You're still listening to the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM. From the Western region, let's head to the Central region. Don't come home with a child unless you confess you are a witch. That's a warning from the father of an 11-year-old boy to the wife. The crime of the wife: she chose medical care over spiritual intervention for the son, whose limbs were getting rotten by the day. Not even the intervention of the gender minister will make the husband, who has had 10 children with a wife, rescind his decision. Richard Kwejunyako has the rest of the story.
11-year-old Ephraim Donko lies on his hospital bed with his toes and fingers cut off. His toes, fingers, and all his joints were getting rotten. He's been sent from one spiritual center to the other for help by his dad, but the condition started deteriorating. Ephraim can neither walk nor touch anything.
Into other way no patient na wotuche into wotwa na nansoba no wetwetwa ni na efi wona na ya aso so wetwetwa ni na antisisi other way na ya bien na.
When we came to the hospital, all his hands and feet were rotten. They had to cut the toes and fingers. For the 4 months he's been here, he's not called us. He's told us not to come home until I confess I'm a witch and responsible for my son's condition. Mother of Ephraim, a mother of 10 by the same husband, decided to save the son's life by sending the child to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital when part of the boy's body started getting rotten. This act of the mother has incurred the wrath of the husband, who is accused the wife of being a witch and behind the boy's condition. Medical officials here at the pediatric unit of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital say the boy is suffering from a medical condition, and if he had been brought earlier to the hospital, the fingers and the toes wouldn't have been cut. Doreen Levanta is a staff nurse here.
Actually, the boy is having a condition, they said, vasculitis. That's ulcers all over the body, and we are managing. Actually, they actually have a financial constraint because the mother said she doesn't have anybody supporting. So it's been benevolent people who have come, and then a lot of friends and family who they don't know.
Gender Minister Cynthia Morrison, who visited the hospital and got appalled by the situation, phoned the dad of the 11-year-old boy.
All the fingers were dead, so they had to cut them off. And I took the number of the husband and called him. And he's like, I am not coming because I didn't ask my wife to bring him to the hospital. And he's telling me, Madam Nurse, I won't come. The woman is a witch. Let her tell you why the child is here and all that. And if she is a witch, she's still here with your son. And this thing, according to the nurses and the doctors, he's healing. When he came, it was so bad. But even looking at this looks as a worst case to us. And they are telling us he's improved.
Both mother and child have been at the hospital for the past 4 months and are living on the benevolence of people. Richard Kwejunyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
From the Central region, let's head to the Northern region because authorities of the Gondugu Islamic Primary School are calling for an extension of government school feeding program to attract and retain children in the school. The program was introduced in 2005 on the back of proof that availability of free meals increased enrollment and kept children in school. In Gondugu village, where there is only one basic school, teachers say getting food has been an excuse for the children to go home and never return. They are confident the introduction of the school feeding program will reverse the trend. Joy News' Gifty Andwapia reports.
Racing their way to school. This is Asana and her brother Ilyasu, who wants to be a doctor. They live in this village embedded in the heart of Yendi Township. It is called Gundohu, and they are pupils of the only school here. It is a Tuesday, and to the Gundohu Islamic School, I have followed the two siblings. Between their home and the school, it took them about 45 minutes for a journey that's barely 15 minutes by foot. They've been chatting and playing with friends all along the way. Upon their arrival at school, they are simply loitering. But, like the pupils here, Asana and Ilyasu are not to blame. For them, there is very little motivation to go to school, let alone be on time.
I'm Suleimana Yako, assistant head teacher.
You heard the Gifty Ando appears report. We apologize. We have to cut into that report and go quickly to the Christian Bell Castle, Osu, where the NPP General Secretary John Boadu has just taken his turn to give a testimony to the Commission.
National Security Council at the police station. But it was not that heavy. We've been involved in those operations for all this while, and I think that it is well represented.
Now, with your experience with elections and by-elections, would you say that it was normal to see national security operatives at polling stations?
It is normal. Most of these elections, you have overt and covert operations of the National Security Council or National Security around. Sometimes you don't see them because it's, they are not uniformed. And, okay. Okay.
Now,
thank you, my Lord.
In the course of your movement through the constituency, did you witness any incidents at all, being violent or otherwise?
No, Lord.
Has it subsequently come to your attention that a number of violent incidents occurred within the constituency?
It is only in Labawaleshi polling station, which is made up of 4 polling stations at that particular spot, that I heard on radio initially around 9:30 a.m. thereabouts that the NDC had said that they've withdrawn. So I quickly have to rush there to check what exactly may have happened.
And would you be able to share with the Commission what your observation or observations were when you got to Labawaleshi?
By the time I got there, calm had returned. Voters were voting normally, filing in to vote in the 4 polling stations. But the presence of the security agencies were heavy in that polling station.
Are you able to tell the Commission exactly when you arrived at Labawaleshi?
It will be between 9:30 and 10 a.m. in between. Because I had in the morning gone to a few polling stations, have to come to our operational center by 9 because there was something that I need to deal with. Then it was at that point that I heard on radio that something has happened in that particular polling station. So I rushed there to see what exactly has happened.
Did you have polling agent or agents at the Labawaleshi polling station?
Yes, by arrangement we had 2 per polling station. So at that particular zone, if I should put it, we have 8 agents there, 2 representing each polling station.
Have you subsequently received reports of the happening at that polling station from your agents?
Not a report per se, but because I also went there, asked them about what has happened, and by what I was told, what happened outside the polling station. And we've told them that as a polling agent, your concentration should be on the polls. Because we've seen such things before where people cause distractions, and if you are not very careful as an agent, you lose track of what really is happening.
Now, there's been a number of videos around town, online, about violent incidents, shooting, a situation in which an MP was slapped. Have you seen any of that?
I've also seen some.
Now, some of the reports in town is that those incidents were caused by a group called the Invincible Force, which is related to the New Patriotic Party, masquerading on the day as national security. Have you also come across that?
I'm not in a position to know.
I mean, have you heard those reports?
Not exactly as you are putting it.
We have had Honorable Sam George, the MP in question, tell this commission that he has reason to believe that the men who were dressed in black and brown uniform and masked, who are said to be the perpetrators, were the Invincible Forces masquerading as national security. What have you got to say about that?
I'm not in a position to know that members of Invisible Forces masqueraded as national security operatives to perpetrate any violence. I'm not in a position to know that.
Do you know this or not? Because the commission has been informed that some members of Invincible Forces and other vigilante groupings have been enrolled into the national security. Do you know about that?
Not that as a party. We, national security, I think, have their own processes of recruitment and have their own qualification criteria and all that. So I don't know whether it is specifically to recruit members of a vigilante group or not. I'm not aware, because it is not a strategy of the party to do so.
Mr. Boadu, do you know a gentleman called Double?
Gentleman called Double? Yes, I know.
How do you know him?
This is, I don't know whether exactly, because if you mention, I don't know whether it's the full name is Double. If it's a guy named, so to speak, you may have a lot of people called Double. And
very well. I mentioned Double.
To be clear about that, yeah.
Because that is the name the commission has been given. According to Honorable Sam George, on the day in question, he saw a gentleman by the name of Double, who happened to be in a military uniform and operating alongside the national security operatives. So this is the man I'm asking you about. Do you know anybody by that name at all?
I will be grateful if I see the picture of the individual in question, so that I will know whether it's the person we are talking about. Because
very well. Now, according to Honorable Sam George, this person by the name of Double is a former Invincible Forces member who is currently with the national security. Would you have any knowledge of that?
Without seeing who he is, it will be difficult for me to be able to conclude on that.
Now, Zabodu.
Yes, my lord.
Tripone, Talensi, Atiwa, and now Ayawaso West Wogon. all these are places where we've had electoral violence. Am I right?
Yes, you've omitted Akwetia.
Very well, thank you. And all these were associated with by-elections. Is that the case?
Yes, my lord.
So then you will agree with me that for some time now, our by-elections, our elections in general, and by-elections in particular, are characterized by violence. Would you agree?
To a large extent, yes, my lord.
Now, Mr. Bodu, are you able as a political actor to tell the commission why these political violence happen?
In my honest view, it is needless for it to happen in the first place, because most of these happenings sometimes are not directly related to the polling process. So for instance, you take a place like Chereponi. In most of these by-elections, we agree with the police, particularly getting closer to the day of elections, to have rallies on separate days. It's a convention by political parties that a day before the actual elections, political parties don't campaign. So most often we pick the last 2 days before the elections. Political parties agree with the police mediating to have separate days for their rallies. In Chereponi in question, we had written to the police suggesting to them that we are having, it was the death of our Member of Parliament, Honorable Doris Sedu. We're having a funeral on Sunday, and we wish that the police grant us the opportunity to have a funeral on Sunday and in the evening have our rally. We got correspondence from the police agreeing on that date. The NDC a day before had also been given the opportunity to have their rally on Saturday. By the tail end of their rally, they announced that they were going. Coincidentally, the vice president then, who is now the former president of our country, Honorable His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, was the one who addressed their rally on Saturday. By the tail end of their rally, they again announced that they are going to have their rally on Sunday in front of the residence of our candidates. We complained to the police. We went as far as going to the commander at Yendi Divisional Police. Having received confirmation letter from them, we expected them to have told the NDC in plain words that you don't have the right to do so. What we heard from the police was that they've been instructed to provide security for both political parties to have their rallies on the same day. In the morning of the election, of the rally, as we were putting together, erecting our canopies and speakers for the rally, the NDC organized route march in the morning and decided to walk through where we are having our program, and that resulted in what we saw. So this is, it was needless if the police or the security agency had been firm in ensuring that what has been agreed on is respected. I think that wouldn't have gotten where we got to. Another example is the Akwetia by-election, for instance. It was just 6 polling stations. That it wasn't even a by-election, it was a runoff of just 6 polling stations, because there had been violence in those polling stations that could not allow the election to complete on the set date. There was total breakdown of security. People were maimed to the extent that on the day of elections, one of our polling agents, who is a member of parliament, Honorable Damboche, was asked by the NDC, supporters that are massed up at the polling station, holding machetes, all sorts of offensive weapons, insisting that they are not going to accept Damboche to be our polling agent. And my lord, the security agents were present. They made sure Damboche is moved from the place as our agent. And the subsequent atrocities that was meted was done in the presence of the security agent. So I think that firm insistence of agreed positions by our mediator, that's the national security apparatus, is one of the reasons for some of these things occurring.
Now, you've mentioned the police twice in two different incidents. We've had high hierarchies of the police come through, and we have been informed that politicians do not allow the police to perform their duties. What do you have to say about that?
We in the New Patriotic Party don't have even the authority to decide not to allow the police to perform their duties. I don't know if other political parties have that right and authority not to allow the police to perform their duties.
Now, once again, as a political actor and with your experience, what do you think we can do as a nation to prevent some of these electoral violence and clashes?
First of all, I think that there's a need for the security agencies to assert their authority. There's a need for them to be fair and firm. There's a need for them to set examples of some of these things that come up. Clearly people are seen. Clearly people do things that runs counter to established norms, and examples must be made from them in order to deter others who are incubating the idea of also getting themselves involved in such acts. I think that if this firmness is seen by all, and also this process, for instance, is more or less the first time in our history as a country, particularly the Fourth Republican Constitution, where things have gone wrong, so to speak, and the government has taken the bold step in trying to also make sure that we get the full facts and appropriate recommendations are made to government to also act. I think that this is the way forward for us as a country.
Zabwadu.
Yes, my lord.
Mr. Muntala Mohammed of PPP appeared before the commission, and according to him, one of the causes of these electoral violence, especially when it comes to by-election, is the convergence of too many people at a constituency. What do you have to say?
I think that it will be difficult as fledgling democracy to decide to restrict the number of people at such events that are of national character.
Before you go on, by too many people, I mean the top echelons of political parties. You have the chairman, the general secretary, trickling down, all of them converging within a particular constituency.
My lord, it will be irresponsible on the part of political leadership if such an important process or event is happening, if not by reason of circumstances beyond your control. we must be seen to be there. We must be seen to provide the support and the direction to the party. You must also remember, my Lord, that we hardly have experiences. We hardly have mock exercise of an election by political parties. We will also use this occasion, maybe not a good event to use, but we use it to also get other members of our party, particularly our regional leadership, to also take them through the process of election campaigning, door-to-door organization of rallies, and speaking those and how to address them. So it serves a lot of purposes, and it is for that reason why you see a lot of people converging. And you also will remember, you note that we have members of parliament that also have to also go through the process. It is for that reason why you have a lot more high profile, so to speak, members of political actors in such occasions.
Is it also the case that by-elections, for instance, are used as testing grounds for political parties?
To the extent that it affords us the opportunity to get first-hand practical experience in campaigning, mobilization, collation of results, and its announcement, yes. To that extent, yes.
What about it giving you an idea as to the outcome of the ensuing general election?
It's also a barometer, yeah.
Zabwedu.
Yes, my Lord.
The Invincible Forces, Delta Force, Kandahar Boys, Bolga Bulldogs. Are these names familiar?
Yes, they are.
These groupings are said to be, for want of a better description, vigilante groups associated with the New Patriotic Party. Do you admit that?
The nomenclature that we've been using today, listening to Dr. Kwesine Enin, he has even been able to graduate it from full soldierism to vigilante and even talking about militia. For me, and practicing over the years, these are members of the party that provide support for party activities over time. Depending on the situation, they adopt names. You may even see, I will not be surprised to note that you may even see one individual being a member of the names that you've mentioned, if they are all located in a particular constituency or a particular region.
Now, the explanation you have just given is captured in a News Online report, and that is Peace Online, in which you are said to have explained the usefulness of these groupings. Is that the case?
Yes. I think I need to further let you know that as a party, we have organs of the party. And these organs are the youth wing, the women's wing, the NASA wing, Young Executive Forum. All these names that you've seen, just as you have lawyer ladies, you have, even just last Sunday, I had a new one, Ambassador for Nana Association, something, AFWA. You understand? These are individual groups that have sympathies for the New Patriots. So if you take Invincible Forces, for instance, as their name. They are individual groups, not an organ of the party, that majority of them have sympathies for the New Patriotic Party. And I must also take you through that if you look at the political architecture of our political party, security or supporting our party activities at the polling station, at the constituency level, most often in times of coalition, at the regional level and the national level, is part of the entire political administration of the party. Sometimes it comes with names. I remember in the year 2000, as part of our strategies, we had support group representing us in all the polling stations throughout the country, and we've been doing so all the time. It's when it get there, we don't go pick Invisible Force or Delta Force or whatever. We pick members of our party who comes from the polling station, comes from the constituency to provide support for our party at a particular point in time. So they have a lot of usefulness if you want to put them in that bracket here.
Mr. Boadu, for the purposes of clarification, do you admit that these groupings I've mentioned, the Invincible, Bulldogs, and what have you, are owned by the New Patriotic Party?
They are not owned by the New Patriotic Party, my lord.
Are they sponsored by the New Patriotic Party?
They are not sponsored by the New Patriotic Party, my lord.
But you agree with me that the New Patriotic Party is a beneficiary of the activities of this group. Is that the case?
I, in person, I am a beneficiary of this groupings as individual members of the party. I remember in 2016, there was a re-registration exercise. And a day before, I've heard a lot of challenges happening in the Sutufi, Sunafu area. I decided as General Secretary, then I was then the acting General Secretary, to visit the area. Some of our members had been beaten to pulp. Some of them has been hospitalized. On my way, I normally will not go with a lot of people. I normally drive alone. For whatever reason, I decided when I got to Kumasi to ask some of our young men to join me to visit those areas. And my lord, at one polling station, there was this gentleman calling himself now, but I didn't know him. When he got to the polling station, he arrived with his men holding guns, machetes, knives. Introduced himself to me as the brother of Honorable Collins Dauda, and that we are in Accra, making noise about their activities here. And today, he's here with me, and he's going to deal with me. Had it not been the presence of these gentlemen that accompanied me, it should have been a different story. Because the police was virtually helpless. They were surging towards us. Everybody was running for cover. We're lucky that the police station was closer to a police station. So Naba was charging at me. I have to dash to the police station. The police commander did extremely well. Went to the police station, brought out AK-47, gave about 2-3 warning shots. Naba and his group also replied